Good afternoon and welcome to MECCA Live. We are back making engaging community connections accessible, and we're back. So I want to, this is just a kind of a little event reminder. So a little information and a reminder. We took a little break because we wanted to make sure that the flow of information was happening smoothly, and there were several glitches that were taking place. There were some timing issues, obviously, we discussed that when we were live several months ago, but also wanting to incorporate YouTube in the best way that was more fluid, and that wasn't happening at the time. Mostly because we had a lot of timing issues as far as schedules and working through the nuances of lighting and sound and timing as far as Instagram and Facebook and things of that nature. We were using Facebook moreover, and the two platforms are not difficult, but some of the things that had become easy and kind of routine needed some attention as it related to YouTube. So I wanted to let you know that we are back. We actually are changing the days. So previously we had MECCA live every day. And I think we were trying to stay inside the 10 a.m. block because, by that time, many people are up and moving around. Maybe you're in your car, but also that you can always come back and watch them. And that's the beauty of YouTube and why we wanted to utilize that platform. Well, one of the main reasons why we wanted to utilize the YouTube platform, not the only one, but one of the major reasons. So with that being said, I want to give you that bit of information. We will be back on November 3rd, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going to post an update, though, as we get closer to that date, because we're trying to figure out how to record in tandem. So we're trying to figure out if we're going to record it early and post it at 10 a.m. or how we're going to do that. But right now, this is what I've been given to say. So Tuesday, November 3rd, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and not every day. So our new days are Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Again, additional information will be posted, but we are excited to be back. Have a lot of information that we want to share. We've worked through and done many different, created many different segments, and are working through the editing process of that now. So I'm very excited about this, and to let you know that we are going to continue presenting the same types of information, but there have been some with the feedback that I've received, and just the way, where we are, as a country and as a nation, but specifically as it relates to families, communities, and networking, so that we're aware of the resources in our community, the players in our community, but then also how to be involved in a way that doesn't violate how, our sense of safety, whether it's physical safety, health safety in the face of this pandemic, or just our comfort zones as it relates to what's happening in the communities across America. So I wanted to let you know that we are back. I don't know how it's going to play out as far as YouTube, but I know that on Facebook we do have MECCA Free Flow. The idea behind that is that the Tuesdays and Thursdays are scripted. They're, this is material that we've prepared and edited, and we have a flow for that. So when the MECCA free flows happen, generally it's going to be on Facebook. But when we do have those, it's the unscripted ideas that come up, or if something's happening in the news, or something is taking place in the community, or there's a resource that, oh my goodness, I don't know if everybody knows about this. Just, that's kind of an impromptu bit of information. Sometimes it's a reminder, and sometimes it's just like, what, let's rethink this, or food for thought. So that's how those work. I haven't decided whether I'm going to add those to YouTube or not, because the scripted ones are the ones that we really are focused on right now. But we didn't want to have gaps where, I really want to share that, but it's not on topic of what we are deciding to, how we plan and scheduled our weeks for MECCA Live. So I wanted to make sure that you knew that. I want to let you know that we're coming back. And then I want to leave you with this bit, this little reminder. I know that we are dealing with a lot right now. We are on the cusp of this election, solidifying the upcoming election. We still have many families and many children that are struggling and suffering with the various impacts of COVID-19, and whether it's financial or food, or whatever the case may be. We have a lot of that going on. We also know that we had many people in our country, but specifically our communities, that were navigating mental health issues prior to COVID. And so, when you're already in a vulnerable state, whatever that may be, and then it's further impacted by additional stressors or something else that adds weight or ballast to a struggling or very tenuous situation, then it just exasperates it. So we know these things. We know that a lot of those things are taking place. We know a lot of the things that are happening, and repercussions and backlash and impact of social injustice and the things that we're seeing in our community. I get that, and that's why MECCA. When we come back on November 3rd at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the topic is going to be MECCA in review, our purpose and why we speak life, and we're going to unpack why MECCA, how MECCA came to pass, why it was started. We know, and I've shared that originally MECCA was intended to be something different. And with that said, I had a completely different idea of MECCA in my 20s, but I loved, that I was going to do something with it. And then this is just a brief synopsis, a brief explanation. I'm going to go in further detail because there's so many different pieces in it by itself, but then other things that happened along the way. So I'll go in further detail with that. But it was in the back of my mind. I wasn't letting it go. Life happens, and career ebbs and flows. And then many years later, because I'm clearly not in my 20s, COVID. And that's when MECCA popped back up in my head. I was like, oh my goodness, wait, I had this thing that I was thinking of. And so then I tweaked the letters and the words and decided that this was going to be the vehicle by which my community and communities across the nation are reminded and encouraged to become active and re-engage and reconnect, but then also a space where we could share safely and where we can exchange information and network. And hey, did you know that this is available in the community? From businesses that kids are starting to services that people are offering, or things that are given, resources that are free or inexpensive, or just knowing, what's happening out there. That's how it came to pass. But when COVID kicked off, many of us were working remotely. Many of our children had to change gears to attend school at home. And so that changed the dynamics of many, many, many different things, and meal times and things that were kind of routine and didn't need a lot of structure because it was just inside our schedule. Now we had to figure out, like, how does this intersect? How do we get everything done? Is there a way? And if there is a way for us to maintain as much stability as possible, how do we do that and meet everything that's happening, right? So what ended up happening was many people know that I'm a social worker. And so friends and people in my community were saying, hey, do you know of anybody that's doing this? Or I'm struggling with this, or I know that you're a social worker. Are you aware of blah, 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 blah? So it ended up being where I was, a lot of the information I didn't know. But then when people ask questions, I start searching, right? So it ended up being a situation where I was assisting as much as possible when people were asking me about different resources, to include the stimulus information and how to qualify for this. And there was other grants and other things that were coming that people were hearing bits and pieces about, but they weren't necessarily sure how to process some of those things. So I was helping out with them. I was thinking, you know what, I'm going to answer their questions, but what if more people have these same questions? What if I answer their questions and address this, but what if I create something where more people can see it, whether it's, hey, didn't know if you knew, by the way, these are locations for food distribution. This is, this blah, blah, blah. So that's how it came about. That's how it started the way it is now in March. And when you join us on the 3rd of November at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll go in further detail about some of the other nuances. And then in gratitude, share how it was able to evolve while navigating obstacles. Just, when you start something, there are things that you don't know, right? So there were things that we needed to take into consideration that, was not even on my purview because I was just trying to disseminate information. So trying to master the use of time and the use of words and making sure that things are succinct, but if they need to take time to unpack, than taking the time to do so. Those things are just what happens when you're putting something together. At the same token, though, there were many obstacles and many different things that we needed to navigate that were by design. And there will be a lot of transparency in that episode because I just want to be clear. I want people to know that we didn't stop because someone had a problem with us. We didn't stop because we got tired, or we didn't stop because of anything like that. We wanted to make sure that if the idea is to make engaging community connections accessible, that is really what we believe. And those words were specifically selected because of their meaning, so that this is what this means, and this is what we're going to do to demonstrate this meaning. We needed to take some time and really delve into the best way to live and breathe MECCA, and that's why we took the break. But in order to do so, though, included, we had a lot of really great ideas, but we needed to make sure that they would work and that they were fluid. And everything we had done up until that point was on Facebook. And that's great, that's great. But we wanted to step into Instagram, and we wanted to utilize YouTube for many reasons. And the nice thing about Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube is that they do a lot of similar things, but they also do things very differently. And also, while many people may look at Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram differently and utilize all three, we know that different platforms draw different types of crowds. And if we want to, like I keep saying, if the goal and the focus is to disseminate information, is to engage the community and bridge those connections so that who's in your community, what's available in your community, and you become a part of your community. So awareness, utilization of services, but then also giving back, participating, whatever that may be for you. If we really want to do that, we need to understand how those different platforms work, the best way to incorporate the information on those platforms, which is why earlier I said we may be recording it. The YouTubes may not be live, they may be uploaded, or they may be live and shared. I'm not sure about how we're going to do that, but we do know that we will be here on the 3rd to begin again. And so to be clear, the information presented will always include utilizing your community, understanding that you and I may not be in the same community, but communities are communities. So if you hear something on our MECCA lives and you're like, I don't know if that's in my community, like if I can figure out a way to help you find that, I will. But otherwise, do some rudimentary searches through your search engine. If you know people in your community that are social workers or are aligned with whatever the subject matter or content of that day is, utilize them. A lot of times we have people in our community that are amazing resources, but we don't know they're there. Why? Because we get up, we go to work, we come home. How are we going to know that they're there? That's the other reason why we wanted to have MECCA, because then people can chime in and say, you know what, that resonates with me. This is what I do. We want to make sure that we share that information. And why we want to make sure that we're utilizing YouTube is because even though we are doing this out of Southwest Florida, we know that specifically as it relates to the effect and impact of COVID-19, many things are virtual. Things were virtual prior to, but now there are a lot of platforms that did not have the virtual component that are now utilizing it. So we want to make sure that we're including those different things and making sure that we have the information necessary so that people understand you don't have to be in my community to share your information. Not just because, we're virtual, but because if you have a service that can be purchased, or utilized or tapped into across time zones, we have that availability, and that YouTube is amazing as it relates to that. So with that being said, I wanted to let you know that many of the YouTube lives that are recorded and stored deal with mental health and physical health and things of that nature. That's not the sum total of the information that we'll present, right? So we will talk about actual events in our community. We'll talk about issues facing our community. We'll talk about what's happening in the country as a whole. We'll bring up different things that have been mentioned as concerns or topics that people are curious about. I just want to hear more information. Either they've sent messages through our Facebook Messenger page or have made comments. We're trying to be trying to figure out the best way to secure information across the 3 different platforms that we're currently focusing on. So I don't want you to feel like it's going to be physical health, mental health, emotional health only. It'll be what people have said that they want to hear about. But then also, we have a lot of people that contribute information who are very active and very visible in the community. So we want to make sure that it's practical, it's useful, and it's informative. So that's what our focus is. So we will see you hopefully right here on Tuesday, November 3rd, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be kind to yourself that you may be kind to others. And as always, speak life because your words do not return to you void. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend.